So this video is about function hoisting in JavaScript. Okay, so what is function hoisting? Function hoisting is the process by which we are able to invoke or call a function even before it has been declared. Okay, even before the function has been defined. So what is happening over here, as you can see here, we are calling this function in line 4, but we have defined this function in line 8. Okay, so but this will work. And why this will work? Because of function hoisting. But it does not work in every case, like we'll see in other example, rat2 rat3. Okay, so in the first case, let us just run it, and let me just bring it down. Okay, so as we can see here, what is happening is that function will be called below. Okay, so this line gets printed, then the function is getting executed because it's getting printed. Okay, print hello function getting executed, and then function is defined below. So what is happening here? The function is getting executed even before it has reached the function definition. Okay, function is defined over here. We haven't even reached line 6 and the function has been executed. This is because of function hoisting. Now, when does it not work? It does not work when we use an function expression. Okay, when we use an expression to define a function, like this is a function expression. Okay, and the third one is called a arrow function expression. Okay, here also it will not work. So let me just show you why it doesn't work. We'll execute the second file, and you can see cannot access print hello before initialization. Okay, so what is happening here is that print hello, this is a const, it is a variable. Okay, it is a const variable, and it is storing, or it is pointing to this function. Okay, and why this doesn't work and why the first case works, that is because of how JavaScript is executed. When JavaScript is executed, it is done in two phases. The first is the memory creation phase. Okay, the memory creation phase, what this does is that I'll just write it over here. Okay, so the first phase is memory creation phase, and then there is the second phase, which is the code execution phase. Okay, so first phase, in phase 1, what happens is that it stores everything in the memory. Okay, like all the variables that are defined, variables and functions, all the functions that are defined. Okay, it stores all that in the memory. Okay, it will store it in the memory but not initialize it. All the variable initialization, okay, variable initialization, and like all the code that needs to be executed, everything happens in the second phase. Okay, the execution happens in the second phase. So what is happening over here? In the first phase, memory creation, what is happening, it goes from top to down, and it reaches this function, and it is a function declaration. As you can see, it is a simple function declaration. So it will store this entire function in the memory, and then it will, since it reaches the end of the code, it will go again from the top. The phase 1 has completed and phase 2 will begin. Okay, and in the phase 2 it will go again at the top, and it will come down from top to bottom. Okay, and top to bottom, this line will be executed, and then this calls the function. This function has already been saved or stored in the memory in phase 1. As we saw in phase 1, this was stored in the memory, so this is able to find it in the memory and it executes it. As simple as that. Okay, now in the second scenario, or even in the third, I did not run the third one, but you'll get the same error. I'll show you later. Okay, So in the second scenario, what happens is that in phase one, it goes from top to bottom. There is nothing to store, nothing to store, nothing to store, and it comes over here. Okay, so there is a variable print hello. So it will store this variable in the memory, but it will not initialize it. That is, there will be a print hello, but this print hello will not get any of this. The function is not getting initialized because you see there is an equal to sign. So equal to sign means that the function is getting initialized, or the function, sorry, the variable print hello is getting initialized, or the variable value is changing or something like that. Okay, so that comes in the execution part, that comes in the second phase. All the execution, the storing of values, etc., calculation, everything, initialization, everything happens in the second part. The first phase is only storing the variable and the function declarations. Okay, wherever the variables are defined and the functions are defined, that is getting stored. So print hello is getting stored, but nothing, the function is not getting stored. And okay, there might be a, I'm not very sure, but this function might be getting stored, but this will be stored as an anonymous function. It will not have a name. Okay, it will be an anonymous. It is not linked to this print hello, so we cannot access it even if it is getting stored, because no operations are done in the first phase, simple storing. And so what happens in the phase 2? Phase 2, it will execute this and try to execute this, but the problem is that print hello was not initialized. So the print hello does not have this function, and so we cannot run the function. When can we run it? If we cut it from here, sorry, control X, and then paste it below. Okay, and now we run rat2.java. This time it will be executed. So here what is happening, this function is getting initialized to this variable, and then this variable is getting executed. As simple as that. Let me undo it just to keep things synchronized. And similar is the case for rat3. Here just we are using the the arrow function expression. Okay, so here also the same thing is happening, and if we run it, we'll get the same error. Habit of you running Java. So let me expand this little. Can't access print hello before initialization. Okay, as simple as that. It cannot access it, and because it was initialized after the point where it is getting called, as you have understood, because of phase 1 and phase 2 of the JavaScript code execution. Okay, there is one more thing that I should add, and that is, let's go back to a simple one here. So instead of const, if I change it to, okay, let me create some mm, let me just change it to var. Okay, so const and let, they act in the same way. One is constant, another is not constant. That is the only difference between const and let, as far as I know. But var is a different case. Okay, var is a different case because here there is a default initialization to value undefined. Okay, let me just write it over here. Var gets initialized to undefined by default, but let and const do not get initialized by default. Okay, so that is a different that is the difference between the two. Now just keep this in mind. The error is cannot access print hello before initialization, right? This is the case when it was const. Now I have changed it to var and I'll run it again. Okay, sorry, I have changed it in the rack 2. So here the error is print hello is not a function. Okay, let me change it back to const just to keep it all in the same file so that you do not have any doubts, although it will not make a difference. And run it again, and here it is. I'll just expand it and let's scroll down. So both are executing the same rat2.js, both are getting error in the same line. Okay, the difference between this was for var and this is for const. So difference is that in case of var, it is saying that it is not a function. Why is it not a function? Because as I mentioned earlier, and which I'll show you just now, var gets initialized to undefined by default. So print hello is actually undefined at the moment and not a function. Okay, but in case of const, it is not initialized to anything, and so there is a difference in the error, the way the error is shown. Yeah, but none of them is going to work. And just let's go with the phase 1 and phase 2 with var. Okay, let me remove this const and get to var. So how it will be done? So what happens in phase 1, it goes from top to bottom, nothing will executed, only storing, and only this var print hello. So in phase 1 what will happen, let's say this is phase 1. So what will happen in phase 1 is that in memory one var print hello will be executed, will be stored in the memory, and its value at this point will be undefined. Okay, and this is in phase 1. And then what happens, the code is the program has been run from top to bottom, so the phase 2 will begin. Okay, and in phase 2 it will execute this line, execute the second, then it will come and try to execute this line, the line 4. And what it finds here is print hello. What is print hello? Print hello is undefined, so it will try to execute undefined, but undefined is not a function, right? Undefined is a separate type in itself, it is not a function, so it cannot execute something that's not a function, and so we get the error, print hello is not a function, print hello is undefined. I hope you get it now. But if we try to execute it after this point, it will be executed, it will run successfully like it ran in case of const. There will be no difference if we were to call the function after it has been defined. Whether it be var or const, it will be executed in the similar way. But if we are trying to use function hoisting, and so there will be a difference if there is a const or var. So that is all for this video. I hope you understood. So